Hey guys, it's Joe. So today we're going to talk about the hashtag churchtoo. Churchtoo is a hashtag that kind of follows up the metoo movement, which was started as a way to show how common sexual assault, sexual abuse across the nation is. And the churchtoo hashtag kind of followed that up to show how common it is within the church. The fact of the matter is, there really is no difference in the statistics between abuses of power in any situation. It's not a Republican problem, it's not a Democratic problem, it's not a Hollywood problem. However, a lot of the churchtoo hashtags bring light to something I care really passionately about, and that is the response of the church once abuse has happened. Also, let me be clear, this video is talking about the evangelical Christian church. In just a second, we're going to review some of those comments, some of those tweets. I think everyone knows that churches are advertised as safe places. You know, come here, find a better life, find hope, find safety, find redemption. But so often, what people find is judgment, victim blaming, and so much worse. Let me be clear, this video is not addressed to all churches, but it is addressed to a lot of them because I cannot count the number of stories that I've heard. So let's take a look at some of those hashtag messages. Hashtag churchtoo. When I was told that I shouldn't have gone over to his house by myself, not that they were sorry, not that his role would be changed, just that I shouldn't have gone over there alone, wearing a dress, because it caused him to become overcome by lust. When I was in college, a male Sunday school teacher taught my class that rape wouldn't exist if women just learned to say yes more often. I cannot count the number of times I've heard guys in church publicly admit to molestation, harassment, assault, etc., only to be praised for their bravery and honesty. At a friend's youth group, in response to a talk on purity and modesty, I went with tears in my eyes to a female volunteer. I shared that I had been raped and felt shame about not being pure. She responded by asking if I had repented of my role and what had happened. I was in a hotel with my babies, fleeing a violent outburst from my husband. My pastor told me to go home and submit to him. Now, these are some quotes from an article I posted last week called Deadly Counseling. They are actual lines said to actual victims of domestic violence and sexual assault by church counselors or pastors. Pray more, have more sex, ask God to show you what you're doing to make him so angry. Well, I don't think he was trying to kill you. You need to work on being more submissive. It doesn't matter if he kills you. Jesus was killed too, and you'll go to heaven too. Forgive and forget. You sin too. Let God handle him. Suffer for Jesus. Forgive him and reconcile. He didn't mean to hit you. Just have more sex with your husband and everything in your marriage will be fixed. He never meant you any harm. Just trust God. It is really clear that the church has a problem with victim blaming, with abuse, with telling abused people to go back to their abusers, with justifying it, with pardoning abusers, and with putting the blame back on victims. To anyone who is Christian, I have a question for you. What about any of those messages reflects the person who is Jesus? Some of them are based on scripture. Yeah, you can rip a passage out of context and say, yeah, you're supposed to submit to your husband. There is that one verse somewhere that was written thousands of years ago in a different language, in a different time, that you can interpret to tell an abused woman to go back to her husband, but that is not how it was intended, and that is not the heart of the person who your faith is based on. People who hate Christianity respect Jesus because his message was one of love, compassion was one of kindness, was one of justice. His heart was for the broken. His heart was for victims. He hated religious people who followed the letter of the law. They were the only people he ever got angry at. And so all of these people who have said horrible things to victims, like I just read, it astounds me because it is so common. A piece really quick from my own story. Right after everything happened, I needed to talk to someone. I told my dad, and he didn't know what had happened at this point, I need to talk to a counselor. Do you know anyone? He called some people and said, yes, I found this lady. She's counseled in the church for over 30 years. She's amazing. Everyone loves her. Here's her number. So I called her up. I went and met with her. I was a complete and total mess. This was about a week and a half after everything happened. And I said, what? I mean, is that rape? What happened? Here's what she told me. Yes, that is rape. You know you shouldn't spend time alone with men. That's just not smart. The both of you need to come in together, she's referring to my rapist here, and sign a contract never to have sex again before you're married because you're impure. I've seen this work for so many couples. I don't think you're beyond hope. Speaking about me. Looking back on that story now, it's so absurd, it's almost laughable. But that is what happens so commonly. And I could tell you more stories like that, but this video would be way too long. So I have a message to people in the church. Remember who you're following. Remember the person of Jesus Christ. Remember what his heart was for. His heart was for the broken and the lost and the hurting, and for helping them, for coming alongside them. Remember that the church does not solve every problem. There is a reason we have a justice system, and things should be dealt with in the justice system, like domestic violence and sexual assault. I honestly believe that most people in the church do not intend to cause damage, do not want to cause harm. In fact, they want to help people. That's why they're there. But often so much damage is done. And I want to see that stop. I want to see that end. And I'm sure you do too. So instead of trying to find the right Bible verse to justify whatever, or figure out what purity means now, or go back to church principles, just love the person who is sitting in front of you. Listen to them. Try to understand where they're coming from. Be there. Don't disappear. Find them help if they need it. Look into resources. Make sure they know that you know it is not their fault and that God doesn't think it's their fault either. Don't force anything on survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. Listen to them. Be there. Don't try to force scripture down their throat. Don't do the Christian thing. Don't do the religious thing. Do the human loving thing, because I truly believe that that is the heart of Jesus. As you love the person in front of you, you are doing what Jesus would have you do. It is so horrendous to see all of these stories under this hashtag of churchtoo, but it is true. We have a problem in the church. We can fix it. I know that the church can do better. I know that Christians can do better. And I know that they can be an incredible and powerful force for healing and for helping and for good. The next time someone comes to you and tells you their story, I would really urge you, above everything else, just to love them. I'm Jo Beckwith. Here's a link to the documentary. It's from a couple years ago, but it talks a little bit more about my experiences in the church, both good and bad. I really appreciate you watching. I'd love to hear your comments. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're interested in seeing more videos like this. I really look forward to seeing you next time.